morning, everybody. It's lovely to have you with me in Midweek Word Live. I haven't done this for a few weeks, so I'm feeling a little bit out of practice, but I'm delighted to see that so many people are already online. Wendy is in the gym. Yvonne is on the couch. Robert and Liz are with us. I wonder if you're having breakfast in bed, as seems to be often an occurrence on Midweek Word Live. Let's see who is also with us. I've got my Facebook stream and my YouTube stream, so I should be able to see. Marjorie Brown is with us. Good morning, Marjorie, and also to Sue Davies. Lovely to have you with us. Susan Masterton. Good morning, all from Newton Stewart. I don't even know where that is, but that's not Kirk Newton, so she's obviously on holiday or somewhere. Lovely to have Eleanor with us this morning, and Finley. Finley I saw on Sunday with medals from his athletics championships on Sunday morning. So that was a real joy to see you on Sunday, Finley, with Gregor as well. Lovely to have Nicola Taylor with us. Thank you for popping your name in so I can see who's here. Oh, it's near Dumfries. There you go. So definitely on holiday, either that or an early morning drive. So great to have you with us this morning, and it's just, yeah, what a treat to start the day with a bit of connection before I drive into the office for my Wednesday of meetings and payroll and all sorts of wonderful financial things, which I thoroughly enjoy. So our question to start us off this morning, other than where are you and how are you this morning, is what is your favourite meal? Now, what I mean by that is, what is that meal that just says to you, I'm home? What's that kind of, that go-to food that's comforting and sustaining and everybody enjoys, and or maybe it's something that reminds you of your childhood, or something that just, I know for me, the answer to this question is roast chicken. Roast chicken is one of my absolute favourites. If I've been away on holiday and I haven't so been able to cook for myself, when I come home, it's the meal that says, I'm back. It's when we've moved house and we've been renting, and then we finally get to where we're next going to be living, and I cook a roast chicken and I think, here we go, this is my new kitchen, my new home. We lived out in Nepal for a couple of months a few years ago, and when I came home, I think the first weekend I had to cook a roast chicken just to be sort of settled back into our home. But the only problem I have with it now is that the rest of my family all enjoy the white meat, which means that we have a disproportionate amount of brown meat left over, which I love, but not everybody else in my family is so keen on. And it was definitely transformed for me, this meal, when I discovered that you didn't have to do roast potatoes, roast parsnips, gravy and all the vegetables. It didn't need to be a big Sunday roast. You could, in fact, just have it with sliced bread and a salad, and the chicken just would speak for itself. So that's made it a bit more of an easy meal to make on the weekend or when you've got a little bit of time. Now, let's see if anybody else has got any favourite meals. Ooh, here we go. Oh, I've got Wendy saying, payroll, don't forget I'm your favourite. Of course you are, Wendy. Unfortunately, I can't show that in the payroll, but I shall find some way. Okay, who's written on here? This is a good one. Steak and chips. Who's steak and chips? Oh, Fiona Crow. Didn't know you were a steak and chips. I was going to guess that might have been Craig Hall, who's on with us this morning as well. I wonder if you've been for your 5-mile run, Craig, always putting us to shame. Here we go. Emma Galloway, fish and chips. Had some yesterday in Devon on holiday. I've seen some amazing photographs on Facebook, Emma, of runs and walking in some beautiful countryside. So I hope you're having a wonderful time. Ollie's joined us this morning. Good morning, Ollie. Lovely to have you with us. Ooh, beef Wellington. That sounds like a good one. Who's this? Oh, it's Ollie. Oh, okay. Bit of a complicated one for a favourite meal in my book, but maybe that's your Sunday special is a beef Wellington. I would certainly be up for enjoying that very much. Gregor is joining us this morning. Lovely to have you with us, Gregor. Ooh, this sounds like an excellent one. Yvonne from the couch. Homemade trifle. My sister makes it in a bucket. Wow, that sounds like a very impressive trifle. I think, yeah, trifle's one of those meals or dishes that took me a little while to get in to be a fully favourite. I think I found the sponge fingers as a child a bit unappealing, but my mother-in-law makes a very delicious trifle. So that's good. Wendy, mince and tatties. Absolutely. That's a good one, isn't it? Oh, here's a good one. Da, da, da. This is Angela Mackenzie. Butcher's steak pie, mashed potato with turnip. That sounds delicious. We used to have 2 butchers in Linlithgow, and one of them did steak pies, but the one that is left, unfortunately, doesn't make steak pies, but I have found a few alternative sources. So that is, we sometimes buy that if we're coming home from holiday and pick one up as we're driving through the borders. Always goes down well. Here we go. This is Craig, mince and tatties. Oh, no runs for the last 6 months. Goodness, I'm obviously very out of touch. Workshop work has me busy. Well, you probably can't complain too much about that. Here's Gregor. What's he saying? Steak pie and chips. Very good choice here. We're definitely into the meat. Oh, we've got 1 pudding. And other than that, they've been heavy on... Oh, no, we've had fish. So, yeah. This is one of my issues with cooking non-meat meals. We're trying to eat more vegetarian meals. They just don't come into my head as quickly for what should we have for dinner. I don't think, delicious vegetable stew. I need to do a bit of rewiring of my taste buds, I think. Okay, who have we got here? If we've been eating out a lot, who's this? Marjorie. I love some mince and tatties. Yeah, there's something that's just so comforting about that home-cooked meal that is so familiar, isn't there? Oh, we've got lots of choices here. Nicola Taylor, mac and cheese, homemade curry, beans on toast. Excellent choices. Mac and cheese is my daughter's favourite. She often has that if we go out for dinner, which I always think the restaurants must just make an absolute killing on because it can't cost anything to make. It's a bit like going out for pizza and having margarita. That's another one of my pet, it's not a pet hate, pet foibles. I always like to go for the one with the most toppings. I think you should, you want to be making some good returns on your investment. Homemade curry, very good. Beans on toast. We had beans in jacket potatoes with cheese last night. That was a definite comfort meal. Here we go. Who's this one? Great steak pies from the butcher in curry. Ah, well, that's good. That's always useful to see. I can't. Oh, that's Marjorie too. Good morning from Kipford. So that must be Gail. Dull here today. Oh, it's a bit overcast here, but it was absolutely gorgeous yesterday and a huge full moon yesterday evening. I was picking up the girls from dancing and it was the autumnal equinox yesterday, according to my postman. And so I couldn't decide whether I was pleased that we were halfway towards the middle of winter or whether I was feeling a bit sad that the summer is undeniably behind us when we get to the autumnal equinox. And it was definitely feeling dark when I was getting up this morning. Good morning. Who is this? That's Linda Love. Lovely to see you, Linda. Lovely to have us with you. Expanding my recipe options. Well, I think so. I'm always up for new ideas of what to cook. Cooking every day feels like something that is definitely not something I find easy. Goodness, here we go. We could do this for half an hour. We'd never get to the word. Do you think Ollie would mind? Shepherd's pie and apple crumble. Oh, goodness. That sounds delicious. Maybe you're cooking that this evening. Who's that? Gail. Kipford. I know, I could be down there for dinner if that's what you're offering. And maybe I'm thinking about food because this week we've got a friend coming for dinner tomorrow, my brother coming friend coming tonight, mustn't forget, my brother coming tomorrow and my parents coming on Friday. So suddenly we have burst back onto the hospitality scene, which has come as a bit of a shock because we're so used to not having people into our home. So it's going to be a lovely treat to see all of those people. So let us move on to the word for today. And what I've really been wrestling. I've loved this talk series on John, but I have to say I found John chapter 6, all about Jesus saying he's the bread of life, quite a challenge. I think it started off, I'm trying to now remember all the different people that have spoken. I think we've probably had Dave and Ollie and Andrea all speaking on this chapter. And it starts with Jesus saying to the crowds, "You're only coming to me because I can satisfy your stomachs, your earthly hungers with physical food after the feeding of the 5,000." And he goes on to say that he is the bread of life, and that it's only through eating his flesh and drinking his blood that we can enter into the eternal life that he offers us. And I think it was definitely Dave when he was talking about how often you have to use the words "eat my flesh and drink my blood." And it's just such visceral language. And I don't think there's any culture in which that would be an easy thing to read and think about and talk about. And I've just really been wrestling with trying to understand more about what Jesus was meaning when he was saying that he is the bread of life. It's not the only statement that he makes about who he is, but it's one of these really important ideas. And the more we chew on it, the more there's more truths that I think lie within it. And I think however long we've been Christians, there are always new depths of truth and knowledge that we can come to appreciate. And I think the thing that first challenged me about it, I'm going to take off shepherd's pie and apple crumble because I'm finding it, even I'm finding that slightly distraction. Here we go. Let's go from, here we go. Word. That's suitably straightforward, isn't it? I think I've lost my train of thought. I think there's always new truths that we can learn about what it means that Jesus is the bread of life. And I think in its simplest form, bread, when I've been looking through the Bible, is a symbol of hospitality. It's a symbol of life itself. If you don't have bread, then you are struggling to survive. And with bread, then we can live. Our earthly bodies will be sustained. The unleavened bread that was a part of that original Passover meal when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt was symbolic of affliction, that there wasn't even time to put the yeast in and wait for it to rise. And there are various passages within the Old Testament, particularly where it talks about unleavened bread being that symbol of times of trial and suffering. It was also used as a peace offering. There were times when different groups were battling against each other, but to offer bread was to offer a symbol of peace. And it was also the currency of kindness. You could exchange bread for somewhere to stay, or another item of value, or just to offer something that was generous and kind, to offer somebody a meal. And it didn't need to be a complicated meal. It didn't need to be steak and chips or beef Wellington. It could just be a simple meal of bread. And there's an amazing story in 1 Kings about Elijah who goes to stay with a widow, and there's bread that's provided, and she's down to her tiniest last bit of flour and oil. And Elijah says that that's never going to run out until the drought has ended. And she gives her final meal to Elijah, and then when she goes back, there's still more flour and more oil, and she and her son also are eaten, and they live together, and they're sustained by this never-ending source of flour and oil. And it's a beautiful image of God's provision for us, which is sometimes doesn't always feel abundant, but it is always sufficient. And I've also been re-looking at the original manna in the desert that Moses was the conduit for when the Israelites were living in the desert and they didn't have anything to eat, and they said, please send us back to Egypt. At least there we had something to eat. And God provided miraculously the quails at night and the manna in the morning. And it's a really, I can't really quite imagine. It sounds like it was the dew, and after the dew there was this sort of small crust that was left. I wonder, it was a little bit like Frosties, tasted like crackers with honey, according to one of the translations I was reading. And then it had this ability to evaporate by lunchtime as the sun came up, so you had to gather it early in the morning. And God it was a test in obedience, that they were to gather exactly the amount that they needed, and whether they gathered too much or too little, they always seemed to have exactly the right amount per person. So I couldn't decide whether that was the keen beans that were the bouncing out of bed early to gather as much manna as they possibly could, and discovered they only had exactly what they needed, or whether they were the greedy ones that were up and trying to gather more than their fair share, and then the people that didn't gather as much, and yet they still had exactly the right amount. So there was just this kind of amazingly miraculous provision. And Moses said, don't keep any for tomorrow. And yet, sure enough, Israelites kept it for tomorrow. And not only was it full of maggots, but it also smelt. So all of your neighbors knew that you'd kept it overnight as well. And there's just I have such compassion on the Israelites, because I think, I'm sure I would have been wanting to keep a little bit for tomorrow, just in case the manna didn't arrive on that next day. And then what you collected on the 6th day lasted for 2 days, and you could either bake it or boil it. So I don't know, I'd love to see some. They kept some in a jar for all of the time they were in the desert, so that people could see this miraculous provision of food. And yet when Jesus came, he didn't say, I am the quail of life or the meat of life. He equated his life with the bread, that very essential item that needed to be gathered on a daily basis. And there's something so simple about that, isn't there? That they didn't receive enough for a month, that they then had to carry like this big weight on their backs. God provided it on a daily basis, so they always had exactly what they needed for each day. So that I've just really enjoyed thinking about these things and wrestling through them, and just trying to work out what does that mean for me. And one of the challenges that Ollie gave us was asking, was it Ollie? No, it was Andrea, was what is the word that God is giving you for today? I think it was when she was talking about the miraculous time when Jesus walked on the water, how she sent the disciples off into the storm, which felt, from the disciples' perspective, totally terrifying. And yet it was the way that Jesus revealed more of who he is to the disciples. And she encouraged us to spend time each day asking God for what is the word for today. And in that service, the word that came to me was sit. Just sit and listen to me. And it took me until Saturday until I was obedient to that word. I don't know why I think that the busyness of today is more important than doing the thing that God is asking me to do, or actually just spending the time at the beginning of each day listening to his word. But it was just such an amazing moment when I actually stopped and listened to what God was saying to me. And I just wrote down this big, well, it wasn't that big. We're talking about maybe 20 lines of, as if God was just talking to me about my own situation. And I see you, I'm with you. I see the people that you care about, and I care about them even more than you care about them. And it was just such an encouragement to me to hear those words from God. And it reminded me, as I'm always reminded when I actually take the time to stop dashing about and sit, that God's words are always pertinent for the season that we're in. So what is God's bread for today? I think it's for us to trust him, to listen to him, to stop and sit in his presence, not rushing away, but actually giving him time, acknowledging that he is actually the master of all time. Whatever we think we need to do today, being with him, listening to him, praying, reading the Bible, all of these things are given to us because he knows that we need them. And he offers those truths and that reassurance. And I've loved Ollie's series on Midweek Word Live about we are God's beloved, we are blessed, that he uses our brokenness and that he has given us skills, gifts and talents that are not only for us, but for us to give away to those around us. And so often my prayers are so full of the physical needs. And I think I've been challenged by thinking about holding on to the physical needs that I know that are absolutely present in my own life and in the lives of the people I pray for. And in the Lord's Prayer, it says, give us today our daily bread. We're not forgetting the physical needs, and neither is God asking us to forget them. But alongside the physical needs, we have so many spiritual needs that are deeper and more significant. And those are the areas that God most often wants to speak into, as well as the physical needs that we have. And what does Jesus' bread offer? This is what I've been thinking. He offers us, yes, answers to prayer, yes, the miraculous, but so much more often there is the supernatural needs that we also need to be met, to be loved, to be accepted, to be given a purpose, to have a place to be in the world, to have a ministry, to have something that we receive from God that the world needs from us. Which is just such an amazing thought that God has created us because there are specific places, people and situations that he wants to reach through us. I find that quite incredible and humbling, and a real inspiration to make sure that I do the listening that I need to do to make sure that I'm in the places that I need to be. He gives us strength and he gives us time. He is the creator of the universe. If he can make sure that everything in the entire universe has the time it needs to flourish and to grow, then I'm quite sure that he can look after the things that are on my to-do list that feel so pressing when I wake up in the morning. And I think the other thing I was thinking of yesterday, and I know that I'm going to do my usual of thinking I've not got anything to say and then running out of time. It's because we spent too much time talking about food, which is one of my other favourite topics, is about that expression, we are what we eat, which we know isn't true in the literal sense. If we only eat carrots, we don't turn into a carrot. However, we do turn a little bit orange. So I am reliably informed by my husband, who's a doctor. But we do understand that there is a connection between what we eat and the health of our bodies. If we only eat fish and chips and burgers, then that will have a detrimental effect on our bodies. If we eat a healthy and balanced diet, then that will provide our bodies with the energy and the nutrients that we need to be strong and to have the energy that we need. And I think Jesus was saying in this, I mean, it's such a visceral description, eat my flesh and drink my blood. He's saying he wants to be embedded within us in that as close as we can even imagine. And that when we feed on him in all of the weirdness of that expression, then he becomes part of us and we grow ever increasingly like him, and I think the fruit and the person that he is can be revealed within us, and that is exactly what the world needs. I know it's what I need. I'm quite sure it's what my family need, more of Jesus within me and less of Catherine. I think they would definitely benefit from that, the love and the acceptance that we each receive as Christians. To be able to offer that to those around us is such a precious gift. So that is my meanderings on what does Jesus mean by when he said that he is the bread of life. I hope that has encouraged you and perhaps challenged you and just reminded you afresh of that incredible offer that he gives us to spend time daily with him, so that we can embed within us the person that he is, and therefore go into the world to reflect who he is to the world around us. Now, let's see if we've got any comments on here before we move on to, we're still connected in here. Okay, oh, that's good. No further comments at the moment. Oh no, here we go. Good word from Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. I was saying yesterday to Wendy, I didn't have anything coherent to say, so I was praying that God would find a way to turn it into something coherent. Let's come on to notices. These are helpfully sent through by Wendy. Friday night youth is on at 7:30. It is indoors in the church building, Ladycroft, for games, crafts and football on the 2G pitches at Balerno High School. And it finishes at 9 now, so an hour and a half. So a bit longer than it was when it was outdoors in the summer. Sunday is the Livingston congregation at St Margaret's Academy at 10:30. So looking forward to that. I missed the last service there, so this will be my first one back. Can't wait to see the Livingston congregation back in our home location. Ollie is going to be speaking. It's going to be streamed to YouTube so everybody can watch the service. 0 to 18 groups will be running alongside for all age groups, and Mighty Mungos will be online from 10 o'clock. If anyone wants to order any of the St Mungos merchandise, t-shirts and Mighty Mungos hoodies, the Be Love t-shirt, that's the one that I have ordered, and the one with the vision on the front. I'm really hoping that that might start some interesting conversations with my friends. So if you want to order some of that, then pop onto the website and you can feed through onto the St Mungos merch. Mungos merch is the website to order your visionary items for your wardrobe. Definitely the essential item for the autumn. And let's do some words from the Father. We've got 2 minutes to go. Let's see if I can find the caption. A word from the Father. So I've got a couple of different images that came into my mind when I was thinking about today. The first one was, you know, that metal net that you use in a fish and chip shop. I know you're into fish and chips, so you'll have seen this, that picks the chips and the fish out of the hot oil, and that there was just an image of God picking us out of the troubles and afflictions that we're in. The Bible app that I use has a verse for the day, a verse each day, and today's was that the righteous people will have troubles, but God will pull them out and deliver them. And so I think that image was some people, for an encouragement for people today who are feeling that they are boiling in hot oil, that God is going to take you out and rescue you from that situation. The second one was a needle and thread, and it was just some people perhaps have been feeling a little bit disconnected and unthreaded from Jesus, and there's an opportunity to be reunited in your relationship with God again. So if that's you, take God up on that invitation to be restitched back to him. This next one was a single flourishing flower, and it was something to do with the beauty is because of the deep roots. Perhaps you are a single Christian in a dark and barren place, whether that's at work or at home or in your friendship group. There is, I think God was just saying, the deep roots of your faith shine out from you in the beauty of who you are, and to be an encouragement that you are shining for God and being beautiful for God wherever you are. And the last one was standing under a waterfall, and that image of refreshment and blessing, and just to take time to bask under and just enjoy that pummeling of a waterfall flowing over you this morning. we have raced through till 9 o'clock. Let me pray for you, and then I shall finish off to see if there's any captions and chat that we need to finish with. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for your word. Thank you that as we read it, that we receive new truths and new insights. Thank you that you want to be embedded within us in the most intimate of ways. Thank you that you feed us daily with your love, with your blessing, with your encouragement to live for you wherever we are, that you pour blessings and talents and skills into our lives that are for us and for the church and for the world. And we ask for your blessing as we go into this week and this day. Amen. Thank you so much for being here. If you're dashing off, then feel free to dash off. If you have one more minute, I shall just catch up with any comments that have come through, because I do like to make sure that we're catching those. Oh, here we go. We've got Anne Gordon, morning from the Lanark Vets car park. Oh dear, that doesn't sound very good. Now very hungry for breakfast, both physical and spiritual. Excellent. Well, I hope whatever reason you're in a vet's, maybe you work in a vet, not in the car park, then I hope any animals that are with you are well. Great word. Thank you for that one. From, oh, that was from Ollie. Thank you, Ollie. And great to have you all with us. Thank you so much. I think Ollie is back next week, but whoever it is, it will be great. See you soon. Bye-bye.